Hey, Seekers, and welcome back to the Hanged Woman podcast. I'm your host, Julienne Irons, and this month we've been reframing how we think and feel about money. We started by getting practical with Carrie Luna Sky and her playful and freeing money pool method. And last week, Joetta Marie Johnson took us into the science of financial trauma and how it wires itself into our nervous systems. So we've got the practical and we've got the science. But what happens when we start to weave manifestation into the strategy of shifting our money perspective? What happens when you take practical tools and brain science and combine them with energy, manifestation, and belief? Seekers, that is exactly where we're going today. This week, I'm joined by money confidence coach and neurotransformational life coach, Janeil Pierre. Janeil has helped over 2,000 people build true financial confidence, not just by teaching them how to budget, but by helping them shift the subconscious patterns that keep them feeling broke, even when they're successful on the outside. We talk about why financial freedom isn't just about numbers. It's about worth, identity, healing, and learning to fully trust yourself with money again. She'll also break down why affirmations alone don't cut it, and how her confident money method works to bridge strategy with soul. This episode is for you if you've ever said, I know better, but I still can't seem to change. This is the Hanged Woman podcast where perspective is power. Let's get into it. Hey, fellow seekers. I'm taking a quick pause from the show to share something really close to my heart, and honestly, the only reason you're even listening to this podcast right now. It's Three of Cups. My sisters and I created Three of Cups, an Iron Sisters mission of love, as a space for healing, beauty, growth, and community, because we believe life is meant to be full, rich, and abundant in every way. We offer all kinds of ways to support you, like energy healing, heart-centered art, plant-based medicinals, even marketing that will help enhance your brand's presence in the world. Because wherever you are in your journey, we want to help you feel seen, supported, and empowered. So if you're looking for something to help fill your cup in whatever way you need, come join us. Follow us on Instagram at 3 of Cups Healing, or explore all of our offerings at 3ofcupshealing.com. Because Seeker, your cup deserves to be full. And now, back to the episode. Janeil, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm so happy that you're here. Your book was really eye-opening and grounding, and I love the exercises in it, and I cannot wait to get into more of that with you today.
Yes.
First, let's start with your personal story. Okay, so you've said that you didn't get into this work for the title. You became a coach because you lived this struggle. Can you walk us through your personal journey with money shame and how it led you here?
Yes, absolutely. So when I was 26, I had made the decision to move back to New York. And, I had all these big dreams. I'm going to start college. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to, do all these things so that I can be a homeowner by the time I'm 30, start making money. And unfortunately, life said, watch this. I have some things to show you first. And I found myself in a place where I was struggling financially. And I was working for the only job I could get because at that time I didn't have any degrees yet. And the only job that was available post, 2008 recession was a job working pretty much as a dispatcher for a subcontracted company. And I was making minimum wage, $10 an hour. And the company that subtracted the company I was working for, they paid starting off at $12, and there were benefits associated with the $12 an hour, whereas it was $10 on the side I worked on and there were no benefits. So I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? Because I'm literally pinching pennies and, doing all the things to make this $10 an hour work. And so one day I mustered up the courage and I said, I'm going to go ask. I spoke to a couple of the girls because we were just divided by a cubicle, like the cubicle type material divided the company from the subcontracted part. So, the girls and I were very close on the other side. So I was like, do you think they have openings on the other side? And it's like, yeah, I think so. I think they're, you should go ask. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go ask. So it took me a couple of days to muster up the courage to go ask. And finally, I was like, okay, I'm going to go ask. And I waited till my supervisor wasn't sitting at the desk, and I inched my way over the around the cubicle and down the hallway to the back. And I'm shaking, like literally, like my legs, my chest, everything's just vibrating because I was so nervous. And I was like, "Can I ask a question?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "Do you have any openings on this side? I would really like to come over on this side." And he was like, "We don't really have anything right now, but if something opens up, I'll let you know." I was like, "Thank you," and ran back out and ran back and sat at my desk. And so that led to him going back, the guy that I spoke to, going back to my supervisor and saying, "Hey, she tried to come get a job over here." So he was like, "Oh," my supervisor now was like, "Oh, I heard you went over there begging for a job."
Oh my.
hmm The next week when the schedule came out, my hours were cut. So I went from 40 hours a week down to 30 hours. And that's when I was already going through some financial things before that. And because of it, it wasn't enough. And which is why I went for the job in the first place. So now with my hours cut and I'm making way less money a week, I'm really starting to struggle, like really bad to the point where I had to choose between paying rent and buying food. And of course, I chose to pay rent. So on the days that I didn't have to work, I would have to go to sleep. And at that time, I was renting from a family of seven, a small two-bedroom apartment. I slept in the little kiddie's room on an air mattress on the floor. And when I didn't have to work, I'd have to go to sleep because I'd be so hungry and I didn't have money to buy food. And so that was really tough because I've always been the smart one. I've always been the hardworking one. I've always been the one that put my all into something that I'm working on. And here I am at 26. To me, 26 is 30. I'm looking 30 dead in the eyes and I don't have anything, not even a bed to sleep on or proper shoes on my feet. And so I decided at one point I got tired of crying. I got tired of feeling sorry for myself. I got tired of just feeling helpless. And I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm done crying. And in the middle of a serious, like deep soul cry, I sat up and I'm like, I'm done. The crying is not helping me. And I need to figure out my life. So I got up, wiped my eyes, and I took a book. I always loved writing. I always had books and pens near me. So I took up the book that was on the side on the floor and I started mapping out what I wanted to have instead. And it was a house. I described the house. I did, I had all the things for the house. And then I had, I went online and I plucked pictures of each room of the house and I emailed it to myself. And I didn't even remember that I did that until recently. I went looking for something else in my email and I found that email from back in 2000. It was really an emotional moment to find that because I didn't remember that I did that. But I knew what I wanted and I knew I wasn't going to get it by just laying on the floor crying. And so once I decided I wanted different, an opportunity came. My best friend and I were talking and she was like, "Oh, I met this recruiter. Maybe you should call him." And I was like, okay, because we were talking about going to the military. We had conversations about it in the past, but none of us was really taking that seriously. Like, we're girls, and we're okay, we're girly girls. What the heck we gonna be doing in the army? So at that point, it was just my only out because I tried everything. I tried looking for new jobs. I tried getting a secondary job. I tried applying to college. I had this bright idea one day. Apply to college and just see. Maybe if you apply to college, something's gonna happen. And I applied to CUNY and got accepted into five of the colleges and couldn't go to any. And that was like a stab to the heart because no matter how I worked it out, I couldn't afford to go to school between traveling, food, books. Like there just wasn't any way I could have made that happen with the limited resources that I had. And so going back to the recruiter, I ended up calling the recruiter, explaining to him what my situation was and telling him, I'd like to join. And we did all the paperwork, all the physicals, all the things. And when I finally got to the point to sign the contract, I was like, okay, well, you can't leave for basic training until September. It was March. You can't leave for basic training until September. And I'm like, What? I mean, I can be ready in 2 weeks. There's nothing closer. I can be ready. I said I don't have anything. I can just pack up what I got and I can be ready in 2 weeks. And he was like, no, unfortunately, the only time we have opening is in September. And so I had 6 months in between struggling and leaving for a better job. And what I decided to do in that time is learn everything I could learn about money. I'm like, I will never be here again. And I know that I'm going into to making money. I'll have benefits, I'll have educational benefits, all the things. And so when I get there, I want to make sure whatever I have access to, I don't ever lose it. And so I became obsessed with learning about money. I became obsessed with learning about credit. I became obsessed with learning about wealth and everything else, and raising my credit score, all the things. And so by the time I got to the army, I was prepared to handle the money that was coming to me. I didn't wait until it came into my hand. I was prepared for it. And because of that, I ended up buying my first car right out of AIT, which is about 6 months in. And I bought my first home a year later, about a year and a half, just give or take about a year and a half later. And I just been on the up and up trajectory since then. But one of the things that led me to was helping everyone, because I knew that struggle. I knew where I came from. And once I got into the military, I was like, y'all don't understand what's out there, you know? And I didn't project because I didn't tell anybody what I was going through. There was still so much shame in what I went through. There was still so much shame that I never told anyone my story. Just put my head down and started working. And anyone that wanted help, I offered it to them and started, coaching people. I didn't know that's what it was called, but I really took an interest in helping other people so that if at any point in time they decided to get out of the army, they would have money saved, they would have some money in retirement, they would have a good credit score. They'll understand the things I didn't understand about money so that they could be prepared for that next chapter of their life. And that's pretty much how that just morphed into me being who I am today and doing what I do today.
So you talked about the 6 months that you had in between not working and working. You read all the books, you did all the things, you learned everything that you could about money. Do you think that financial illiteracy is a thing that keeps high achievers still feeling broke, or is there something else to it?
So I that was my belief back then, but now it's different. That was back in 2011, coming towards 2010, between 2010, excuse me, and 2011. And to me, it was financial literacy. I thought, y'all just don't know about money. Y'all just don't know. You just got to learn. You got to learn. But now, as I evolved in this space, I realized that it's not just what you don't know about money, especially in today where everything is so easily accessible. It's more of the stories you're telling yourself, the stories that have embedded themselves deep inside your soul about what money means. Because every experience that we've had in life impacts our relationship with money. Every experience, from parents fighting to having the lights turned off, to growing up with limited resources, or even having an abundance, all of that plays a role in how we curate that relationship with our money and impacts the decision that we made. And that's what I realized the true problem with people, high achievers especially, is that's what it is. It's the root of the problem. Because honestly, you can go into ChatGPT or any one of the AIs today and say, hey, give me a budget. This is what I have coming in. This is my expenses. Make me a budget. But there's a big gap between knowledge and implementation. And in that gap lies your personal beliefs or your limited beliefs about money.
And how do we begin to uncover those limiting beliefs? Sometimes I do find it difficult to know what is the story behind why I'm struggling, why I'm broke, why rent is late constantly. How can we better understand what our money stories are?
Just by paying attention. We don't think on purpose. We think automatically. But if you stop and you pause and you pay attention to the thoughts that's in your head when you're about to make a purchase, or when you're justifying to yourself why you should make this purchase you know you shouldn't be making, Just pay attention, tune in, stop for a second. We're so used to go, 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 especially as a high achiever, especially as a smart woman. We're so used to that go, 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 and take care of everybody else that we don't even pay attention to our thoughts. But right before you do that thing, or right before you talk yourself out of doing that thing, there is an entire conversation that goes on in your head. And that right there gives you the clue as to what that story could possibly be.
Okay, so what are some of the most common subconscious patterns or limiting beliefs that you see that are holding people back financially?
The biggest one is I'm not enough. The biggest one is I'm not enough. It's such a prevalent belief, and it's the most inaccurate belief. I'm not enough. I'm not worth it. I'm not deserving. It was those words that really made me take a huge step back. And it's those words that were the catalyst for this book.
What are some of the things that are tied into I'm not enough?
I'm not deserving of this income. I'm not enough to earn more. Who's going to want to pay me? Who's going to want to listen to me? All of those things. I'm not deserving of wealth. I'm not deserving of abundance. I shouldn't be wealthy. Why me? It leads into all of those variations of I'm not enough. And that's the core root of this problem.
And why do most people have that subconscious belief? Why is that living in so many of our bodies? Where does that come from?
Two things. It can come from mostly your childhood. Our entire personalities and our perception of the world is pretty much solidified between the ages of 0 and 7. And all of the little things that happen between those ages, it helps us to form the person and the beliefs that we have later on in life. So when things happen, when we experience certain things at a very young age, we take on that belief system. Like I said before, an example, parents fighting. My parents are always fighting, they're not paying attention to me. I guess I'm not loved. I guess they don't love me enough to not fight. I guess because they divorced, that it's my fault. As a child, we take on those things. And sometimes we bring stuff in from the past life as well. We come back with certain things because I truly believe that we're on this earth to fulfill a particular purpose, and that purpose will have certain things attached to it that will lead us to certain experiences so that we are able to fulfill the things that we're supposed to do. Because let's go back to my story right quick. If I hadn't struggled with finances, if I wasn't a 26-year-old who never had a car or who was sleeping on an air mattress on the floor that was pretty much lopsided because the thread busted in it in the middle of the night and almost gave me a heart attack, if I didn't go through that hunger, I would not have been interested in helping other people. So there's just certain things in life that we have to go through in order to unlock our purpose. And so those are the two things I believe it comes from. Number one, past life, and we come back with certain things. And number two, the experiences that we had in childhood, and we take on that belief system. And then we spend the rest of our lives looking for evidence of what we believe is true. And when we start looking for stuff, we will get it. We will find what we're looking for.
So you practice neurotransformational coaching. What exactly is that and how does it work to shift deep financial patterns?
With neurotransformational coaching is just coaching using NLP, neuro linguistic programming. And all we're doing is we're uncovering the language that it has shaped who you are, and we're reprogramming everything that we're exposed to, which is why we have to be so careful with our words. Everything that we're exposed to, every thought that we think, every show that we watch, every song lyric we listen to, all of those things are shaping our life experiences. And so with neurotransformational coaching, we're able to uncover those beliefs and create new neural pathways in the brain. So pretty much if you have a belief that says, I'm not enough, I'm not deserving, we can go back to the root. Where did that start? And how has that impacted your life? And then work over a certain amount of time to help you change that belief of I'm not enough into I am more than enough and I am deserving, for example, just to make it really simple. So we're creating new neural pathways in the brain.
So why isn't surface level mindset work or affirmations enough to break free from money anxiety?
Orange tree can only give you an orange, right? It can give you a pear, an apple, a banana. It can't give you anything else other than oranges. So if you're trying to change the tree from the top, that's it. I mean, it's just not going to work. And or you're expecting that the tree to one day, I'm praying, okay, you're going to one day give me bananas. You're going to one day give me bananas. You're going to one day give me bananas. It's not going to happen. And that's what a lot of people do with their affirmations. You're saying the words, but every time you say the words, it's running into one of your limiting beliefs. That thing that's at the root that you never addressed. So I'm loving. Oh, but do you remember when? Oh, if you are so lovable, then why did he treat you that way? Why did your mother ignore you? Why did your mother abandon you? Right? It's running up against those limiting beliefs. So that's why affirmations by themselves don't work, because you're trying to convince yourself of something without first addressing the thing. So we have to go back to the beginning. We have to go back to the root. Where did that thought start? Where did that belief start? And then reframe it. I remember when I was doing my own sessions, because I teach what I am a student of as well. When I was going through my own, there was a time when I ran into a huge obstacle and I couldn't figure it out. And I told my coach, I said, I keep hitting the gas and then hitting the brake, hitting the gas. That's the best way I can describe it. I said, and it's so frustrating because I know what I want. I know what I'm capable of. There's no doubt in my mind that I can do this thing. So why is it that I'm always hitting the gas and when I start going, hitting the brake? And she ran me through an exercise based exactly on what I said. And she was like, okay, let's figure out why that is. And what came out of it completely shocked me because it was not a conscious thought on any level. I just knew I kept starting and stopping, starting and stopping. And what came out of that session was I believed deep down inside that if I get success, I will not be able to hold on to it because I had successes, I had lost successes in the past. So the belief that I took on when I lost those successes is that success is not sustainable. So if I go across that bridge and I get the thing that I'm working towards, I'm going to eventually lose it. And that's why I kept starting and going, starting and going. So all of this is going on the subconscious level and I'm not aware of it. So we always have to go back to what is the core belief and then reframe it. So once I knew that's what it was, now I have to do the work to let my subconscious and my nervous system know it is okay to get the thing that I'm going after.
Yeah. And just to be clear, that wasn't something that you picked up between the ages of 0 and 7. That was something that you picked up later. So we're not just having to go back to 0 and 7. These are also things that happen as we get older and as we have adult experiences as well, right?
100%. It starts in childhood and then it's like, think of it as a magnet as you're going through journey and you're just now collecting more. Because the belief before in childhood was, oh, they're just going to reject me anyway. Because I had a dad that left. Well, he was never around. I didn't grow up with my dad. So it was that, oh, I'm not good enough. Because if I was, my dad would be here. Right. And so I went through the rest a lot of my life looking for evidence of that. And then looking for successes in the wrong place to prove my worth. Because I'm going to show him that he should have chosen me.
It's so interesting that you say that because I did have a really good relationship with my dad as a kid, but as an adult, that's when he abandoned my sisters and and I call my nieces and nephews my kids. That's when he abandoned us. And so I do have this deep-seated feeling of rejection, and I do have this deep-seated feeling that it doesn't matter how good I am or how much I try, if my own father feels like I'm not good enough to want to be in my life, then why would anybody else?
That part. Why would anybody else? It makes absolutely no sense to the human mind. If your own parent abandons you, how could anybody else in this world accept you? It doesn't make sense on the surface level. But that's not true, is it? That's not true. If we really think about it, how many people are begging to love us and we just like, I'm not, nope, I'm not going to let you do it. Because if I let you love me, then you're going to walk away just like my dad did. So then we start putting everything and everybody else in that same category.
So there's the idea that money and love are directly connected because they both have to do with safety and security. How does being abandoned by a parent, a parental figure, a caretaker show up as money issues in our lives?
Oh my gosh, that is such a huge thing. If you believe and you have the belief that no one wants you because dad didn't want you, no one would accept you, all of those things, it affects how you show up in the world. And how you show up in the world is directly tied to how much money you can make, how much money you allow yourself to make. So we then have to stop and do the work. Because if we don't stop and do the work, we will not go for that promotion because, well, they're not going to want me anyway. We're not going to go for that job because they're not going to want me anyway. We're not going to speak up in the meetings and show our brilliance because who's going to listen to me anyway? Who's going to do it? And we generalize it and we put that on everybody because of the mistakes or the choices that one person made. So then we have to go back and make ourselves feel safe and be safe to do the things that we want to do. We have to go back and do the work because until your nervous system feels safe, it will always try to pull you back on this side of the fence. So now we have to give it a new thought, a new belief to hold on to. So, yes, that has a direct impact on how much money you can make and what you choose to do. Because you might be wanting to do something that can change your life, but you don't do it because you don't want to get rejected.
If somebody's struggling with something like that, whether it's abandonment issues or a broken heart or lack of self-love, do you recommend that we deal with that first before we deal with our money scarcity issues?
Absolutely. When someone sits to work with me, we're not talking about money first. The money is a symptom of what's going on beneath the surface. It's only a symptom. So if I start talking to you about money, just like in the example before, it's running up against everything you believe. If I'm working with a business owner and I'm telling her, hey, you need to raise your prices, she's not going to be willing to raise her prices because I'm already barely making it with this. Who's going to want to buy that? Who am I to charge this? Nobody's going to want to pay me this, right? So before we even start talking about money, let's talk about you. This is your time to show up. This is your time to let every bit of you in this room. This is not a space where you get to apologize for being who you are. Let's make you whole first. Bring all of you into the session, and we'll spend at least 6 to 8 weeks or even more working on you to where you feel safe again. And that's why I call myself a money confidence coach. Because once you go through those sessions and you have that change of mind and you help bring your nervous system back into a place of safety, watch out, world. No one is going to be able to stop you. So we do that first. And then when you are safe, now okay, let's see what's going on with the money. And by that time you already start making more because you're starting to see the changes in you. So now you're doing things you haven't done. You're saying things you've never said out loud. And you have that confidence to go after the things that you want. So it will naturally lead to you managing your money better and opening the doors to make more.
It takes a lot of courage to do that. You have to be very brave to do that because it feels like I have to be so vulnerable sitting down with this other human being and exposing parts of me that feel so afraid and have been so rejected.
Yeah. So that rejection and that vulnerability and that pain, think of it as you're holding on to a bladed knife and you're squeezing and squeezing and squeezing and you're just squeezing tighter. What's going to happen eventually is that pain is going to become unbearable and you're bleeding the whole time. But what happens when you release that knife? Number one, the pain stops and you give yourself a chance to heal. So, yes, it is a lot. But yes, I create that safe space for you and I allow you to do the things like break down if you need to. What comes up comes out. And we tend to think that, okay, time heals all wounds. But I am a living testimony. Time does not heal all wounds. When I had an ectopic pregnancy when I was 22 years old, right before my 23rd birthday. And it was the most devastating, painful experience I had ever had. And being 22, I'm a kid still. 22 to me is still a child. You don't know anything about life at 22. You think you're grown because the law says at 18 you're an adult, but I was a child compared to how I am now. That is a child. And I didn't know how to deal with that pain. I didn't know what to do with it. The love of my mother keeps me very grounded. And that's the only reason I didn't completely fall apart, because me falling apart will kill her. And I couldn't do that to her. So I kept it together for her. But 17 years after that happened, I finally allowed myself to get help. And the way my soul sobbed, I'm getting teary-eyed right now just thinking about that release. I held on to that pain for 17 years before I ever let someone say, you know what, let's deal with this. And the way I sobbed, my soul just, I could not speak. I could let my body would just convulse and just let it out. Now I can talk about it. Now I can make peace with it. 17 years is a long time. And if time heal wounds, if time was the healer, we would all be okay. And I wasn't okay. I was just pretending to be okay and glossing over it. But what happens, we push stuff, it's like a beach ball. You keep trying to push that beach ball down under the water. Eventually it's going to come up. You have to let it up and out and allow yourself to heal, because holding on to that pain is only going to make you worse. And then we see symptoms of psoriasis and this and hair falling out, and all of these other physical symptoms are, in my opinion, related to the thing on the inside that you're not giving yourself permission to let go of. So yes, it's painful. Yes, it can be a lot. But the minute you let go of it, your life starts getting incrementally better, your health starts getting better, and you stop struggling with the things that you were struggling with before. Which is why I only work with people that are ready. You gotta be ready. I wasn't ready before, and you're trying to push and force someone to be ready, it's going to be a miserable experience on both parts. But when you are ready to release that pain, when you are ready to walk into the wealth you were born and deserving of, that's when I invite you in, or I allow you to invite me in to help you, because I'm just your guide. I'm not your healer. I am just your guide, holding that safe space for you to bring up and out what you need to bring up without judgment.
Okay, Seekers, I think this is a really great place to take a break. We'll be right back with the episode. Every successful business needs that aha moment, the spark where your passion meets your purpose and your vision connects with the people who need it most. At the Magician's Vision, a branch of Three of Cups, we believe that moment begins with intuition. It's not just a feeling, it's your most powerful business tool. In tarot, the Magician represents power, inspired action, and the deep knowing that everything you need is already within reach. Wands for passion, pentacles for abundance, swords for communication, cups for creativity. Together they form the foundation of powerful, soul-aligned business strategies. As part of Three of Cups, the Magician's Vision is here to help bring your vision to life, using the power of intuition, the magic of creativity, and the wisdom of experience to build meaningful connections with your community and grow your business with heart. Your vision, your magic. Let's make it real and fill your cup at threeofcupshealing.com. And now, back to the episode.
Okay, so in your work, you talk about shifting from performing prosperity to actually experiencing it. How do we know when we're just performing success versus living it?
You're performing when every day you got to get up and put on a face. You're performing when everything inside of you is telling you to do something or to stop doing something. You're performing when you're only doing something because somebody else said to do it. And when you start living, work isn't work. Like, I don't consider what I do work. I don't consider it work. It's always been that way, but now doing it on a deeper level, it's like fulfillment. It went from joy into fulfillment. Because, yeah, I help you with your credit, your this, your that, buying homes, starting your business, making more money in your business, all of the things. But what really fulfills my soul is seeing your shoulders drop and you finally take a deep breath and just let it out. That's what I wake up for in the morning. And so when you're living, there is fulfillment every day. And you look forward to the next day. You look forward to the next thing. And so many of us are performing. So many of us are stuck in jobs we hate because financial security. We're only in this job for the money, and it's making us sick, and we're not leaving because we've told ourselves this is the only way to make money. This is the only way to secure our finances. Meanwhile, again, with the beach ball, we're trying to push down the thing that we came here to do. So that's what I consider performing. And when you stop performing every day, not every minute of every day because, lives, but every day is a joy compared to you always constantly feeling like there's someone's hand around your throat.
Your book is called The Money Confidence Code. What is money confidence and how can we have more of that in our life?
So, money confidence is you feeling good about your money, you feeling good about every decision you make when it comes to your money, you allowing yourself to bring wealth, to accept the wealth that is yours, your birthright. So when you're confident with your money, there is no shame, there is no judgment, there is no, oh, I wish I coulda, shoulda, woulda. There's none of that. When you are financially confident, when you have that confidence, you know that it's okay to have. You know it's okay to live in abundance. You know it's okay to plan a big, bright, audacious future and step fully into it without apology and invite those who want to come because not everybody's going to want to come. We all got a story. We all have a belief. And sometimes people tend to think, oh, you're making money. That means you're leaving less for other people. There's no such thing. There is no such thing as if I have more, that means someone has less. That's not how that works. There is abundance available for everybody, but not everybody wants it. Right? So when you are a money confident woman, there is a certain aura, a certain glow, a certain pep in your step because you have taken the time to go back to that old story, erase it, and write yourself a new one.
I love that. One of the exercises in your book is the mirror exercise, which I did last night. And what I learned about myself from the mirror exercise is I'm afraid that people are going to judge me if I have a lot of money, if I bring in a lot of money, if I'm successful. I learned that I can't shine brighter than God. So I have to dim my light so that God can shine.
Yeah, when we were growing up, people told us it's conceited to love yourself. You're supposed to love other people and love God. Don't love yourself because that's being conceited. Imagine that. Loving yourself is a crime. Loving the being that God made is a crime. I'm made in the image and likeness of God, but I shouldn't love myself. Okay. But little do people know the more you pour into yourself, the more you have to pour into the world. There's just no way. If you leave yourself unattended, you don't feed yourself right, you don't love yourself right, you don't take care of yourself, you don't take supplements, you don't go to the doctor, you just allow your body to break down. What good are you to anybody else? Self-love is one of the biggest contributors to wealth. If you look at wealthy people, you'd realize they treat themselves a certain way and they protect their energy and they protect their time. That's how they're able to earn the wealth and sustain the wealth. You gotta know what is the lie you're believing. What is the thing that you have been telling yourself for decades that is not true about you and or about your money? A lot of us grew up in homes where people said things like money is the root of all evil. It's easier for a camel to get to the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. And all of these things that we recite and we say, and, I'm broke and this and that and the next. And we never went back to really examine, is there truth in that? And the eye of a needle is not what we know today as a needle. It's actually a doorway. Back in the Bible days, they had the cities surrounded by walls, and there were doorways in the walls. So if the camel came late to do like the exchanges or bartering or whatever they did back then, if it's late, the camel will have to take all of the load off the camel's back. And there's a smaller door that the camel will have to go down on all fours to go through. And that small passageway was called the eye of a needle. It's not even what we call a needle today. It's a doorway. So it would be a tight squeeze. But if it came after sunset, that camel will have to go down on all fours and squeeze itself. Contrast that with all of the times in the Bible where God talked about gold. It gives God great pleasure to prosper his people. So how would he give you intelligence, beauty, anything, assets to multiply your wealth and promise you a land of milk and honey, but then banish you for having it? It's just so many things we're believing that is not true. So you have to go back to, what is the story you're believing? Rich people are evil. What? You've never seen a bad poor person before? Because I have. Bad and good is not reserved for a certain paycheck or net worth. So we really got to examine, what is the story we're believing? The next level is your worth. We tend to equate our self-worth with our net worth. So, okay, I have debt. I don't have a house. I owe this much, all the things. I guess I'm not worth it. And it's actually the other way around. Your self-worth impacts your net worth, not the other way around. We wear burnout and different things like that as a badge of honor. We wear humility. Oh, you got to be humble. And humble means you shouldn't have more than a certain amount. I have seen so many times this year where people have said things like, billionaires should not exist. And it blows my mind. And the biggest reason why people say that, if they really peel the layers back, is because they have already X'd themselves out of the possibility of ever becoming a billionaire. Because just as many billionaires, they see that they don't like what they're doing, there are even more billionaires that's doing stuff that they would like, but they don't even look at those billionaires or know about those billionaires and the contributions they're making to the world, because they have already counted themselves out. So they're not looking for any role models there. And they're looking for evidence that billionaires are bad and they're selfish and they're greedy and they can end world hunger and they can do this and they can do that. Law of polarity. One can't exist without that. There's no such thing as a one-sided coin. There will be rich in this world. There will be poor in this world. It's just the way it is. Another level is being confident, making confident money decisions. A lot of the times we know in our hearts what the right money decision is, but we don't trust ourselves to make that decision. So we go to other people. So it's about another step in the confident money method is making the decision that feels right for you. One of the things I do as a coach is give my clients the information, equip them with the information to make the best decision, because it's their decision to make. And as long as you have done your due diligence, then you know in your heart of hearts what the right decision is, right? And so I just hold you, keep space for you, help you. We work things out, we talk about it, and you make the decision that's best for you. And you have to make that from a place of confidence, because the minute you stop listening to yourself, the game is lost.
What are some other things that people can learn by doing the exercises in your book? And is there one in particular, other than the mirror exercise, that stands out to you that can help people?
All of the exercises will help reveal a different part of you, because we have so much. We've been living a long time. We've had experiences every day since we've been on this earth. So every exercise would unlock something new. And here's the thing about healing. You never stop, because you never stop having experiences. So every time you go from one thing into another, let's say we work with the root belief that you're not good enough or people will reject you. Once that is healed, you start moving into the next level. And then at the next level, something else will become uncovered. And then you work on that and you go to the next level. It's like playing a video game. There's a villain on every level. So all of the exercises teaches you something different about yourself. It's 9 different chapters, 9 different exercises, and each one will reveal something that you weren't consciously aware of. So when you get to that level, you beat that villain. Sometimes it might take you 2 to 3 tries. Sometimes it might take you 2 to 3 months. Sometimes it may take you 2 to 3 years, depending on how deep it is and how willing you are. But the minute you face it, it becomes easier. Even if you have to repeat it, it becomes easier. It's like, okay, now I'm starting to going back to the video game analogy. I'm seeing what I'm facing. I know what the villain on this level is. And every time you go after him, you learn a different one of his skills. So eventually you'll be able to use his skills against him. So there's so much that comes up. And you just got to remember, as you go through the exercise, as you go through the book, as you see yourself, to give yourself the grace. Give yourself the grace that you are deserving of. Because in life, we tend to think that it's other people's responsibility to love us. It's other people's responsibility to heal us. It's other people's responsibility to give us permission to live. And all of those things come from us, regardless to who loves us or who gives us permission or who tells us, okay, here's $15 or $25 or $25 million. It's still up to us to open our hands and say, I accept.
Janeil, I'd love for you to walk us through your confident money method. How can it support people in transforming their relationship with money? I see it's made up of 7 powerful steps: soul stories, sacred worth, confident choices, bold vision, empowered action, wealth alignment, and your legacy.
We talked about soul stories. We talked about sacred worth. We talked about confident choices. The next part of the confident money method is your bold vision. Even if you're looking outside for validation, you still got to validate yourself. Give yourself what you wish the world can give you. Because even if they give it to you, you could still say, you know what, I'm not deserving of it. Everything starts on the inside. And when you start filling yourself up, you will become a magnet to other people who will pour into you too. Even though I was hungry, I was on the floor, I was sad, I was depressed, I didn't have any money, I was scared out of my mind, not knowing when the next shoe was going to drop, I still had the nerve and the audacity to believe I deserved to live in a big house with a nice view. And so it's finding that space in you to want more without apology. So being really, really clear on what your ideal life looks like. That's the 4th part of the confident money method. The 5th part now is taking empowered action. When you know what you want to build, now let's take the action towards building it. People say knowledge is power, but knowledge is not power. Knowledge is information if you do nothing with it. It's nothing more than information. If you read every book on that shelf and you don't apply not one thing from that book, how is that knowledge you just got power? How is it beneficial to you? It's about using the knowledge, the one that's in alignment with you, in alignment with your big vision. Put it into action. The ones that are aligned, put it into action and start working towards that whole vision. The next part is your wealth alignment. So now that we're working towards a vision, what does wealth look like for you? What does your more than enough look like? What does your abundant life look like? And what do you need to do next to put yourself in alignment with that? Because like I said before, every new level you go to, you face a different villain that you'll have to conquer on that next level. And we might think that villain, let me rephrase that. I used to think that my villains were punishment, which made my pain worse, because what did I do to deserve this? What did I do to deserve this? Then I started realizing that my villains were preparation and not punishment. It was preparing me for the thing that I was working towards. Because if you're not prepared to hold on to the thing, just like all those people who won the lottery, got big contracts, all of the things, if you are not prepared to hold it, it goes right through your hands like picking up a handful of sand. It goes right through your fingers. And now you have more evidence of the thing that you're believing that's not true. I don't deserve wealth. I'm not good enough. Wealth is for other people. I guess I'm supposed to just settle. I never get what I want, right? You find more evidence. And the last part is your legacy. What do you want people to say about you? What are you building that your children and your grandchildren are going to be proud of? We tend to think that legacy is only about money, leaving things behind, but legacy is also about what do you want them to say at your eulogy? If you were to write your eulogy right now, what would you want it to read? Once you get in alignment with that, it changes the game. It changes the game because yes, leaving money behind is a good thing, but also leaving behind, my grandmother was an amazing woman. As a little girl, I had the first couple of years of my life with my great grandmother, and I was so annoyed with my mother for not naming me after her because to me, my great grandmother just represented beauty and love. But that's what you want to build. You want to build a life that one, you're proud of, and two, your family is proud to talk about who you are as a person, what you did, how you impacted their lives, and how you impacted your little corner of the world. So those are the 7 steps to the money confident method. And I like to call it holistic. We're dealing with all parts. All parts. It's not just, okay, let's pay your debt off. Okay, let's, increase your income streams. Let's get you a house. You are a whole person, and all of you need to be tended to in order for you to really enjoy this experience called life. Because if I had a magic wand, I would go back and change so many things about my grandmother's life. I loved that woman to pieces. And when she passed in 2021, the biggest part of the heartbreak was mommy didn't live. That was the biggest part. I sat there and I'm like, my mom called. My mom was in the hospital with her. And my mom was like, okay, talk to mommy, tell her you love her. She's getting ready to leave. She was on her last, she was literally transitioning at that point. And so I got on the phone and all I could tell her was, mommy, I love you so much. But it broke my heart that she didn't get to live. She never got to see the world. She never really had fun. She just took care of her kids, took care of her grandkids. And she was just mommy. She was just mommy her whole life. She was a mother at 18, and her whole life she was just a mother, struggling to make sure that her kids were fed. And if I could go back, I would give her the world. And that's what I want for every woman that's attached to me. I want every woman to live before they die, to know what true love is, to be able to get any experience they want in life without ever having to worry about how much it costs. Because 75 years is a long time to live without truly living. And she didn't live because she couldn't afford to live. So she had to settle. And so I do this because of her. She had her wounds. And of course, people born in the 40s don't talk about the things that they went through. They kept it all inside, and it chokes them slowly until they pass. And that's what I saw when my grandmother was transitioning. That's what I saw. I saw someone who spent 75 years on this side and never truly lived. But her love meant everything to me. We got to leave behind more than just love. We got to leave behind a life worth living, a life well spent, so that our grandchildren can see us happy. My grandmother had a beautiful voice. At least that's what my mother told me. And this was the second part of the heartbreak. She was like, mommy could sing like an opera singer. Well, she used to. And I'm like, what? And I'm there like going through all of my memories with my grandmother, and I had a lot. And I could not remember one time hearing her sing. Not one time hearing that lady sing. And I felt so robbed and so cheated. And so I put everything into this because you deserve, your grandchildren deserve to hear you sing, to see you happy, and to have great memories with you. And we live in a world where money is the currency. So if you want to live, you got to be good with money. And in order to be good with money, you got to get rid of the lies.
If you could whisper one thing into the ear of your younger self struggling with money, what would it be?
Be careful of the things that you're thinking right now. Whatever you think and whatever you say has the power to become your reality. You know what you want, and no matter what comes your way, keep your eyes on the prize. We are literally prescribing our future based on things that happened in our past. Instead of being like, you know what did I learn from this? What am I not going to do again? What am I truly deserving of? That's what I would tell her. Be careful of the words and the things that you're believing. You are still deserving of all the things that you want. You are still worthy. You are still loved. Keep your eyes on the prize.
Janeil, what does financial freedom feel like to you?
Oh, it feels amazing. Waking up and knowing that you don't have to be worried. Knowing that you don't have to check your bank account before you get something. You want to treat yourself, you can do it. You want to treat somebody else, you can do it. Financial freedom to me is a state where I can live life on my terms. It just means waking up in the morning, deciding what time I want to wake up. Because in the Army, I was up sometimes at 4 a.m. Sometimes I was at work at 2 a.m. Sometimes I had 24-hour shifts. And so when I retired, I said, I am never going to work this hard again for anybody. And I've been able to build up my business to where I'm home now and I can do the things that I want to do. And every time I do that, I imagine my grandmother being there and having that freedom and not having to worry about what is it going to cost? What is it going to hurt? Because financial stress is so heavy, whereas financial freedom just feels really, really good. So I encourage everybody to just keep your eye on that prize. Just really, it's such an amazing feeling to know that you have the confidence to make any decision you want to make and live any life you choose to live and truly enjoy this experience before leaving this earth.
This has been so amazing. I know that this is an episode that people are going to want to listen to over and over again. Janeil, where can people find you if you would like to be found?
I'm on TikTok. I am on Instagram, and I do have a Facebook page. So under my name, Janeil Pierre, you can find me in all of those places. And before the end of the year, I will be in even more places because I just hired help. So yes, under my name, Jan as in Nancy, EILPIERRE.
Do you feel complete?
I am so complete in this moment.
So my takeaway from this episode is that it's not about money. It's about genuine self-worth and confidence in yourself. So instead of first trying to manifest money, we've got to find those places in us that don't feel worthy, and then we can manifest from there. And that actually feels really empowering because it actually puts the power back into our hands and takes it away from anything outside of us. For Janeil's bonus episode, I've included the mirror exercise from her book because it is such a powerful exercise, and I know that you're going to get so much out of it. So if you want to go deeper and find out what money is trying to say to you, listen to that episode and do the exercise and hear what wisdom your money has for you. So next week, we're getting even deeper into the energetic realm with spiritual coach Megan McPherson, aka Meg the Millionaire, who's going to teach us about the audacity of asking for more and how to be grateful for it before we even lay eyes on it. She practices God consciousness, and her slogan is, Yes, God. It is a juicy one, seekers. Until then, hang in there.